Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores, and I'm coming today with a video on the tight end that we just signed. We got to talk about who this tight end is and then why he actually may have a chance to make the team. First of all, because of who he is and what he brings to the table, but also most importantly, with all of the injuries that we're dealing with. And he's definitely going to get a lot of opportunities in this third preseason game, because this last preseason game, Armani Rogers was tight end one as an undrafted free agent, as a guy that just switched from quarterback to tight end literally just 2 months ago for the first time in his life. That Eli Wolf, super depth Georgia tight end that I don't even expect to make the roster, even though he impressed me a little bit in that second preseason game against the Chiefs. And then after that is nobody. We have Nathan Gary at linebacker, recently signed linebacker, over there acting as our third tight end in practices. So I watched some tape on him. A lot of highlights, but also some blocking clips that I can find. And I feel like I have a good grasp of his weaknesses and strengths, so we're definitely going to dive into that. And before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, make sure you pull up every Friday for the Broadcast Podcast, where we talk about everything funny going on out there in the world. Whether it's sports, music, gaming, anime, whatever, we'll talk about it. Just pull up in the chat, ask us, and we'll talk about it. Also, make sure you pull up every Sunday like we did earlier today at 6 p.m. for the call-in show, where y'all call in, you the people, voice your opinions about the Commanders, positive or negative or both, and also ask whatever questions you may have. And without further ado, let's get it. Alright, so first of all, the official announcement: the Commanders have claimed tight end Kendall Blanton off waivers. We won the waivers too, because we're going to dive into the fact that there were also other teams that may have been trying to get him as well, especially according to their fan bases and reporters. We're going to dive into that. But for now, we claimed them off of waivers, and again, like I already explained in the intro, we really needed them, because at the end of the day, we just needed camp bodies. And I already knew we weren't going to go get like a Wademeyer that got picked up by the Patriots, because that's like a veteran tight end that you expect to start potentially when you bring him in. We just needed a guy that could at least be a camp body, because right now we just have so many injuries, but there's no like out for season injuries. Logan Thomas is probably going to be the last one to come back, and he may even be ready by week 1. I think John Bates will definitely be ready by week 1. I think Cole Turner should be ready by week 1. Like I said, I think if we had to play a Super Bowl tomorrow and everybody had to play, I think honestly the only injury that we have that would absolutely not play in that Super Bowl is Chase Young right now. I think everybody else, if we had a must-win game tomorrow, they would all be playing. So I don't think our injuries are that serious, so we just really need to bring in some tight ends to basically just act as a tight end, because again, we had Nathan Gary, a recently signed linebacker from the Eagles. I don't think he's ever played tight end in his life. We had him basically acting as a tight end in practices at a certain point, because we're just that low on tight ends. And so I just think, I mean, of course Sammis Reyes is on IR, but even with all of the tight ends that we currently have out that haven't played in preseason, a lot of those guys will be fully healthy and ready to go by week 1. And they may even play a little bit this third preseason game against the Ravens this upcoming Saturday. So again, the reason we didn't go and get a Wademeyer, but we'll go and try to claim a Kendall Blanton, is that we're just trying to get a guy to fill in the spot. And if he ends up being a really good tight end, that's a bonus. But we're not going to go sign a guy and pay him more money than we want to, when ultimately the goal is just to get some tight ends in here to just play the position, just to go through the motions at the very least. But Kendall Blanton, back to him, he's mostly known as the guy that had 5 catches for 57 yards on 5 targets. He caught all 5 of his targets versus the Rams in the NFC Championship game this past postseason. I mean, he looked like he was balling out there, but when you really go look at the film and really look at the tape, he was more so being schemed open by Sean McVay. But I'm gonna keep saying this: there's only like maybe 3-4 tight ends in the NFL that actually get open on their own. All the rest of them are mostly getting schemed open, and they're doing everything that they can within that scheme to get open, and they're making plays and they're doing what they got to do. That doesn't take anything away from them, but it's really only like 3, maybe 4 tight ends is out here literally juking DBs out of their socks. So even though he was schemed open for every one of his catches in that NFC Championship game, when I went to go look at it, I mean, one play he acted as a blocker for a minute, and then the defense lost track of him. They thought he was blocking, and then he leaked out wide open. A lot of plays, it was like a play action somewhere else, wide open in the middle of the field. There was only one play where it was like clearly they're going to him, like it was a wide open play. He's out at receiver, and he's clearly a receiving option. Every other time, it was him going underneath with everybody, taking the defense deep and stuff like that. So not to take anything away from him, because again, almost all of the tight ends in the NFL are pretty much schemed. Even George Kittle is schemed open by Kyle Shanahan. Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, some of the only guys is actually just out here getting open, route running people to death. But at the end of the day, if you can see that Sean McVay can scheme him open and he can be that consistent, catching all 5 of his targets and even getting some yards after catch on them, I feel like he can do the same thing for Scott Turner if he were to make this team. If he impresses enough in this next preseason game and throughout this week of training camp and actually makes the cut, then I can see him actually being a useful piece in this offense. I think he could actually contribute in regular season games. I think he's good enough. First of all, he's done it in some of the brightest lights. He did it in the NFC Championship game when the Rams needed him to do it the most, and he went out there and balled out. I mean, that's one thing that you got to pay attention to. You got to give somebody credit for that. There's guys with all sorts of talent, but when the lights are its brightest and the moment and the pressure is its heaviest, the moment is its hottest, some guys just don't bring out that talent. But he stepped up and had his best game of his NFL career when the lights were its brightest. So I'm definitely going to give him credit for that. And then on top of that, it's also really interesting too, because he was pronounced the starting tight end for the Rams in the Super Bowl. Now, granted, I don't think he was ever even targeted in that game. I know he didn't have a catch, but I mean, the Rams are kind of weird because not only did they cut their starting tight end from the Super Bowl victory that they just had against the Bengals, but he's one of 7 guys that are currently on a different team after being a starter on that Super Bowl team. You have Von Miller, Darius Williams, Eric Weddle, Austin Corbett, Andrew Whitworth, and Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, we'll see where he ends up signing. It looks like maybe the Bills with how Stephon Diggs and Von Miller are trying to recruit him. But like, he's one of 7 tight ends that were starters on that Rams Super Bowl victory that's not on the Rams team right now, which is really interesting. The Rams are just, handling stuff pretty weird. But yeah, man, just to let you know, he's 26 years old. He was undrafted out of Missouri in 2019, and then he signed a 3-year deal with the Rams later on for less than $2 million. But then he was waived at the start of the season, and then he was later brought back to the Rams practice squad, and then he was on and off the unit ever since. But then in 2021, he appeared in 11 games for the Rams and caught 4 passes for 37 yards throughout the regular season. And then in the postseason, again, NFC Championship game, caught all 5 targets for 57 yards. And then again, he was the starting tight end in the Super Bowl, but he just didn't have any catches. And now, from the Rams' point of view as to why they probably cut him, first of all, from what I'm seeing from Rams reporters, that Rams may just want to keep an extra wide receiver. They may keep as many as 8, and they also feel like one of the guys could potentially play as like a receiving type of tight end as well. They also may feel the need to keep 3 quarterbacks and or 4 running backs with all of the injuries that they're dealing with even my Georgia Bulldog Matthew Stafford dealing with the arm injury right now. And then also, they're pretty high on their tight end group. They feel like they have a really good competitive group between Bryce Hopkins, Lace McCutcheon, and Jacob Harris. They feel like all of those guys are stepping up big time, along with the tight ends already higher on the depth chart like Tyler Higbee and those guys. And before we dive into his weaknesses and strengths, just a quick little Pro Football Focus thing. So far in the preseason, he has a 45.3 overall grade, but he has a 62.6 receiving grade, again, so far this year in the preseason. And then last year in the preseason, he had a 69 overall grade with a 62.6 receiving grade. And in the regular season, though, sadly, he had a 38.6 overall grade and a 37 receiving grade. Absolutely terrible. But in the postseason, they felt like he had a 67.6 overall grade and a 79.8 receiving grade. One of the highest receiving grades out of anybody in the entire playoffs. Which takes me to my point. This man is severely inconsistent. There's some blocks, even in this preseason so far this year, like these past couple of years, even just yesterday, like these past couple of weeks, even including yesterday, that he'll just whiff on a block for no reason. Like edge rusher, clearly your responsibility. You start blocking them and you just leave. So that's a mental error. You're supposed to keep them and hold on to them longer. Or like sometimes he just completely gets dominated, like pushed back into the quarterback. But then there's times where, I don't know if you've seen this play, but he absolutely dominated Nick Bosa on this play from the 49ers. Look at this play right here. That's him pancaking Nick Bosa. I mean, it's just mind-blowing how inconsistent you can be to be able to pancake and dominate Nick Bosa like that. When, I mean, first of all, you have to. You're on your own 1 yard line. If you let Nick Bosa through, it's probably a safety. So again, when the moment is his brightest, that's when he performs his best, blocking and receiving. But then there's just other plays, even in this preseason, going against backups, that he's getting beat by the edge rusher, just pushed back into the quarterback. He's so bad. He's so wildly inconsistent. It's crazy. But you can definitely see the ceiling. I definitely see the boom or bust potential. I see the boom and definitely see the bust. So like I already said, as a receiver, he's going to get schemed open, but he's going to catch everything thrown towards him for the most part. And he's also going to get some yards after catch with a little bit of speed, but more so some power to kind of fall forward and get some more yards. Also, blocking wise, he can pancake Nick Bosa, but then he can also lose a rep to the third string defensive end in the preseason. Like, I just don't know what to make of that. But there's potential there. There's definitely a ceiling, and if we can nurture that and get something great out of him, we may potentially have another really talented tight end. This tight end group is severely talented. Logan Thomas is probably, if we're talking about natural talent, is probably the physically least gifted out of the group, honestly, between him and John Bates. But John Bates is already one of the best blocking tight ends in the NFL, and we've seen what he can do yards after catch, running people over like he did in that second Dallas game. It was an embarrassment literally outside of John Bates running people over in that game. Cole Turner has crazy receiving ability. We've seen it throughout training camp. We saw him literally carry the Nevada offense for Carson Wentz as a receiver, not even as a tight end. And then he's learning how to be a better blocker since he's been here. That's huge, because Vernon Davis and Jordan Reed were complete liabilities in blocking. Cole Turner so far doesn't look like he's going to be a liability. Now, will he ever be up there with like a Logan Thomas? We'll see, but Logan Thomas isn't even that great. He's just really good at getting in the way. That at the very least he can do. Again, Vernon Davis and Jordan Reed couldn't even do that. But Logan Thomas at the very least could get in the way. And Cole Turner has the physique and athletic profile to be a better blocker than Logan Thomas eventually. It's just going to take him keeping his pad level lower and keeping his hands more consistent and having more of a plan when he's blocking people. But he's crazy gifted. Then you have Samus Reyes, athletic profile wise, the most athletic tight end to ever try the tight end position. But he's on injured reserve, so he's a non-factor right now, but maybe he'll be a factor next year. And then you have Curtis Hodges, 6'8". There's no DB that should be able to jump up with him. If you just throw it up high enough to where only he can get it, he should literally come down with it every time. And then he's improving as a blocker. We've used him as an inline tight end in preseason games, which I thought would never happen, at least in his first year after we picked him up as an undrafted free agent just a few months ago. So he's improving as a blocker. He's definitely further ahead than like a Cole Turner from what I've seen so far, and even my boy Armani Rogers. But like, he has dual threat tight end written all over him. He's just been banged up, so he didn't get to play in the last preseason game, and he missed the majority of the practice leading up to this preseason game this past week. And then to my boy Armani Rogers, speaking of him, one of my favorite pickups by this team the entire offseason. I see Darren Waller potential all over him, and he's a better blocker already at this point than I thought he would be. He didn't start playing quarterback till literally just a couple of months ago at the East-West Shrine Bowl game. He switched from quarterback to tight end literally that week. And look at where he's already at in the receiving game, getting targets and looks from Carson Wentz. He's a reliable target. He's going to catch the ball as long as it's not some supremely contested catch situation. As long as he's open or even moderately open. I mean, it can still be a contested catch. He's made some good catches in traffic, but, you know, he's not up there just completely Randy Mossing people. But, I mean, who really is on this team besides, I mean, Cole Turner has the potential to, and Logan Thomas has shown us a couple of times that he can. And then at the end of the day, again, he's only been playing tight end for 2-3 months out of his entire life. Even Logan Thomas played some tight end before college, and then he was a quarterback in college and then switched back to tight end at the NFL. Now, Armani Rogers was a quarterback his entire life from what I believe, and he's just now trying to run his first routes. This is his only third month. This is only like his third month of running routes in his life and catching a pass. And the fact that he can gain separation on a starting NFL corner, Xavier Woods, in that Panthers game, and the fact that Carson Wentz was so comfortable with throwing the ball his way while trying to get comfortable with the offense and learning what Scott Turner's got going on in his first preseason game as a Washington Commander quarterback, that says a lot, man. And again, he's made plays in both preseason games, so I think it's really hard not to keep him on the team. Again, I'm biased. I think he has Darren Waller potential, so I feel like it's obvious that he should make the team. But we'll see. And then now you're adding in Kendall Blanton into the mix, and you still have Eli Wolf, who, even as a Georgia Bulldog fan, I don't think there's any chance he's going to make the team because I don't think he's that good. Then again, he looked better in that second preseason game against the Chiefs than I expected, so we'll see. So this tight end group is really deep, and it's just so talented. It's just so talented. There's so many boom or bust guys that it's going to be some real tough decisions made, but we'll see. But I think it's really interesting because a lot of fans of other teams really wanted him. Like, I'm seeing Vikings fans out here saying that, man, we need to be on that. Like, before we signed him today, I'm seeing on like Twitter and places like that, Vikings fans saying we need to be on that. Vikings reporters saying that we need to be on it. A Giants reporter literally said, hey, you may need to give up a 7th round pick to guarantee that you get him before he hits waivers. He tweeted that August 20th. He tweeted that yesterday. I mean, you got fans and reporters from other teams even dangling a 7th round pick to not even take a chance of him landing on another team, and he eventually did. He landed on the Commanders, which we should be thankful about, but you can see there was a pretty good demand for him. I mean, I see a Giants fan saying that he could potentially compete for tight end 2 for them right now, and I'm not even sure if he's our tight end 5, at least when everybody's fully healthy. Today, he's tight end 5. I think he automatically gets placed above Eli Wolf on the depth chart because, again, Armani Rogers and Eli Wolf are our only healthy tight ends. But this is a guy that a lot of fans and, again, reporters and football analysts around the league feels like really he's just a cut of high competition for the Rams, and they would love to have him on their team competing for, at the very least, a tight end 3 spot. We're bringing him in to basically be tight end 2. I mean, tight end 5, tight end 6 at best when everybody's healthy. But who knows? Maybe he shows something in the preseason, and I hope he doesn't take Armani Rogers' spot. But we'll see. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. How you feel about this signing? Have you gotten a chance to look at any highlights or any tape on them? Do you agree or disagree with my assessment of them? And also, man, please leave a like on this video before you go. And also, I appreciate all of the support, man. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors' names you see scrolling on the screen right now. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.